Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dear Dream Diary with your host, Ashley. This is episode 21, and the title of today's episode is Protecting My Inner Child. I know it's been a while since I posted an episode. I've been so busy, and I've had some stuff going on. I had some situations with my group of friends that took me a little while to kind of move past. And, I like to say that everything happens for a reason, and I firmly believe that. And I know that it's quite sad what happened with my group of friends, but like I said, everything happens for a reason. So my mind has been all over the place with what's happened, and like I said, it took me a little bit of time to kind of move past that, and I've accepted it, and I know that there was a reason for everything that happened, and I'm just going to move past that. And, I won't say what happened just because, I still love everyone and I hope everyone well, but, basically I'm not talking to my close group of friends that I was talking to for the last 5-6 months and, became really close with them. But when I first started this podcast, I did a lot of learning on my own and basically self-learning with this journey. And I did a lot of research on my own, and everything was like me doing the work and me learning and me reading and everything to do with myself doing the work. And I did end up, coming to this community that I was very close with. And I think that what happened was I used them as a crutch. And then at some point, my ego kind of stepped in and then, basically said that they're the reason that I'm making this change. And while they've helped me, I think that a lot of this spiritual journey and growth is to do with like yourself and inside and not so much everyone else. Well, yes, other people do influence and encourage and help you grow and give you advice and everything. I don't think that you should lean on people too much and then also implement that self-doubt that it's them that made you do this change, because essentially it's you doing the work, right? It's all to do with yourself and not solely yourself, like I said, but you shouldn't be focusing on other people and what they are providing to you. And that's where my ego kind of stepped in and my self-doubt and everything, where it took me a little while to realize that they're not the only ones that helped me through this, because I am the one who got myself to this point, and I'm going to continue to learn and to grow with myself and learn more about myself, obviously with the help of others. We're not meant to do this journey alone, but not everyone is meant to stay in our life forever. There's people that stay in for even just 5 minutes, even if it's a hello, and they have like this huge meaningful conversation with you and you never see that person again. Like I said, everything happens for a reason, and I fully believe that. So I've basically been processing everything that's happened, and I've processed it, and that's why I haven't posted an episode, just because my mind wasn't really in the right place. And I have tried recording this episode quite a few times, and there's been issues with it. And I see one of the big issues was when I did my little intro, I said the wrong episode number, and I would have been so upset if I released that with the wrong episode number, because I don't do any editing. I just use my recording app on my computer and I upload to Podbean, and that's it. I don't do any editing. I do and would like to learn how to edit, which I will be, because I am rebranding and renaming my podcast. I will let you know what the name of it is at the end of this episode, but I will be doing a lot of changes to my podcast, so I will have to learn how to edit. So that is a challenge that I am going to create for myself, and I will grab it by the horns. What's that saying? Grab life by the horns? Well, I'm going to grab this challenge by the horns, and I'm going to overcome it. Or overcome. Anyways, I don't know if that's the right word, but that's fine. I'm going to go into today's dream just because I know that I veered away from my dream reading cards. Well, not my cards, but the Rose and Sarah dream reading cards that I've been using for almost every single one of my episodes, except for I think the last 3 or 4, which is fine because I am able to interpret interpret. I don't even know how to say that word. It's fine. I do know how to decipher my dreams, most of them anyway. Sometimes I'm not able to. Maybe it's not the right timing or whatever, but I typically have been able to decipher my dreams without the use of the cards. But like I said, this is probably about the third time I've tried to record this episode, and nothing really seemed to have fit when I was doing it the way that I did the last few episodes. So I am going to resort back to the Rose and Sierra dream reading cards. And I think that going forward, I'll continue to use those cards because I really like when I read the meaning of the dream card, not only for myself, but I think that other people really like that information as well and can take stuff from that. So I'm going to continue to do that. But there will be other changes to my podcast. Not crazy changes, but I will talk about that at the end. So I'm going to read today's dream, and then I did pull 2 cards for the dream. So I'm just going to read the dream and then we'll go into the cards. So Dear Dream Diary, in this dream, I was living in an apartment building. There was 2 versions of myself, an adult mom version and a child version. I was the mother to the child version of myself. I was tucking the child version of myself in for bedtime, and I noticed a teddy bear that started moving. The teddy bear came to life and was evil, attacking the child version of myself. I, the mom version of myself, got the bear off the child, and the window in the bedroom was like a cube that had the glass on the outside that didn't open, and the inside opened like a normal window. I put the bear in there and locked it in there. I noticed another bear in the bottom of the closet, but I knew this teddy bear was the good teddy bear and knew when it came to life it would take care of the evil teddy bear, but I had to wait till the morning for it to come to life. I had to keep the evil teddy bear locked in the window until the morning. End here. Now, so basically, there was 2 versions of myself, like I said, a mom version and a child version. And I was viewing the dream from the mom version of myself. And I was tucking my child version self in bed, and this teddy bear came to life and was attacking the child version. And I even remember when I was trying to get the teddy bear off the child version of myself, the teddy bear was attacking me and like hurting my arm. And then I got it in the window. And to kind of explain that a little bit better, some windows have really wide windowsills. So this was kind of like that, but it was like a glass cube prison. It didn't open on the outside. So once I got the teddy bear in on the inside, I could close the window and lock it, and it couldn't go anywhere because it was stuck in this like glass cube prison. And then once I did that, I noticed another teddy bear on the floor in the closet. And I knew that teddy bear was a good teddy bear, but came to life in the morning. And I had to wait till the morning for that teddy bear to come to life to take care of the evil teddy bear. So what this does kind of mean for me is I know I did an episode talking about my childhood trauma, but a lot of the stuff that happened when I was a kid happened at nighttime. And then during the daytime, typically like nothing happened. So I feel like the 2 teddy bears was kind of like they kind of resemble that. So the nighttime, the bad stuff happened. The daytime, good stuff happened. So I feel like those 2 things kind of resemble that. And then the 2 cards that I did pull are landscape places. And then the other one that I pulled is, let me see here, it is animals, just because there was a teddy bear in my dream. Not a real bear, but I'm going to read what that kind of means. Now, before I do go into the dream reading cards, I just want to talk a little bit more about what I think this dream means for me. And I think it means there's a lot of inner conflict going on, and I need to work on, healing from within and letting my inner child out. It's almost like I've put my own inner child in this like room to protect her, and I've locked her there with everything that I've gone through, and internally I'm afraid to let her out because I don't want her to get hurt. So I think that what this kind of symbolizes or means is that I need to embrace who I am fully, allow my inner child out, and let her grow and not be locked in this room anymore, because we're not meant to be locked in any type of room. No version of us, no part of us is meant to be locked in any type of room or prison. And typically with trauma, that's what we do with ourselves, is we either lock a part of ourselves away. We even sometimes black out the trauma itself and we don't remember certain things. And I think that obviously with healing, and sometimes a lot of people with stuff that they've gone through, they need therapy for that. I've never gone to, I've tried a couple like mini sessions, but I've never actually gone and sat in a session, just because therapy is not for everybody, and that's okay. And therapy works for some people, and that's okay too. But I've never actually gone to a therapist or a psychologist and sat there and expressed everything. I do think that, it would be worth trying just to see, but I've had counseling sessions. I think therapy and counseling are very similar, but a little bit different. I've never done that. It could be worth trying, but I have done a lot of healing by myself. Like, I've gone leaps and bounds. Even in the last 6 months, I've changed since I've started this podcast. I was a different person when I started this podcast, and I'm a different person now. And even when I first started this podcast, I felt like I've done so much healing. And this podcast went live, I think, at the end of September. So what are we at? That's 8 months now, I think. Yep, going on almost 8 months. So I'm going to read the cards, because I could blab and talk forever, which is okay, because that's what podcasts are meant for. But I'm going to read the first cards, and I'm not reading the whole thing. I'm just reading what I'm taking from it. So the first card is landscape places, because I was in a different environment. I've never lived in an apartment building before. I know my grandparents were managers of an apartment, but I've never personally lived in an apartment, not from what I can remember anyways, maybe when I was a very, very young child, but not from what I can remember. So landscape places. The setting in your dream is a vivid clue to what's going on inside of you. Familiar settings such as home and work are relatively easy to interpret because they explore work-home feelings. If you are struggling in real life with inner conflict, then the landscape will be very different to your familiar environment, which makes sense with what I just said that I think this dream means, because basically the dream is to do with inner conflict, and it was a different environment. So that is exactly what I'm taking from that, and that's what that means for me. And the other card that I pulled is animals. And again, I know it wasn't a real bear, it's a teddy bear, but when I read this, there is some stuff that I'm kind of taking from it. And I'm going to read the first couple sentences. So animals represent your instinctive nature, your personality, and habits. Usually, a domestic animal symbolizes the familiar and predictable habits you have, and so indicates that you are feeling content in your waking life. Wild animals, however, represent an uncontrollable force, the wild and unpredictable parts of yourself. Each animal has its own specific meaning and represents different sides of the dreamer. It can be that the dreamer wishes for these qualities or needs to have more control over them. When you dream of an animal, find out what it represents to you, and then it has a list of a couple different animals. I'm just going to go right to bear. So bear means possessive and protective. So the fact that, it's set up here, it can be that the dreamer wishes for these qualities or needs to have more control over them. So protective. Obviously, when I went through all of the things that I went through as a child, I didn't feel protected because of what happened. So obviously, I'm wishing for the qualities of being protective. I was wishing that somebody had protected me and taken me out of the environment that I was in and the things that I was going through. Now, I know I did talk about this in my one episode, and I fully love and respect my mom for the choices that she made. And I know that is a hard decision to make, to either, like, she wasn't working at the time. So it was a choice between being homeless or staying in a home and having somewhere to live, having a roof over her head. And homelessness is not the best option sometimes or at any time. So I respect her and commend her for making the choices that she made and, giving us and staying in a place where we had a roof over our head and all of that. I'm not going to go into this more because I already did an episode on that. But the other part, the possessive part, now possessive means, demanding someone's attention and love. Now, obviously that correlates to what I just said, looking and wanting for someone's attention and love. Obviously, I was searching for that in a different way than I received the attention that I got. So that those two things kind of just go hand in hand, the possessiveness or possessive, not possessiveness, but possessive and attention go hand in hand there because I wanted the attention or protection, and the attention in a different way than how I received it. So that's kind of what this dream means. I know it's pretty heavy, but it's what it means. So sometimes dreams are very, very emotional like that. And the dream itself was such a silly dream. Like just reading it and picturing like what I was seeing is just such a silly dream, like a little teddy bear coming to life, attacking you. Like that's just so silly, but that's what happens in dreams is your mind, which brings me to some of the Freud theories and information. I've read a couple of his books, and one of the things is he has the manifest and latent content. So that kind of brings me to that. So the manifest content is the actual images and things that you're seeing. And then the latent content represents the underlying symbolic meaning of those images and events. Now, our subconscious mind distorts things so much. It's crazy how when we're sleeping, we're kind of like disconnecting from, well, not disconnecting from our ego, but our ego is like in a vulnerable state and our subconscious mind kind of takes over and it distorts things so much because that's what our subconscious mind does. It doesn't make any sense to our conscious mind. And it's crazy how all of that just like works together. There's been so much research done with dreams, but also at the same time, not a lot of research, if that makes sense. Like they only have limited access to certain things they can do with dreams. Like they can measure the brain waves. They can, when the person wakes up, ask them questions about what they were dreaming and take information from studies of like Freud, Carl Jung. There's all kinds of people who have done different dream interpretations and studies. Those are the two that are, there is other famous people who have done dream analysis, but those are the two that I'm familiar with and where I got some of my information from. Obviously, on this journey with this podcast and my own self-learning of dreams, because dreams are so fascinating to me, I will find more books of different dream interpretations to read, and I will share that information with you when I do. But that is the dream. Now that brings me, I'm going to pull an oracle card for the dream. Now, when I do the oracle, and I'm using the dream reading cards, Rose and Sarah, that came with the oracle and the dream reading card. So I'm going to be using that deck to pull the oracle card. And when I do pull the oracle card for the dream, I've come to learn that it's not necessarily what this dream means for me, but what message I might need to hear from this dream or from the information from this. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for when I pull the oracle cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull a card here. And the card that I did pull is card number 45, which is play. And on the card itself, it says, find time to incorporate play into your everyday life. Allow your inner child to experience joy. You deserve to be happy and be joyful around others, which is even just the words on the card are resonating with what I had said about letting your inner child out or my inner child out and not keeping her in this safe room as I say, I guess that's kind of in my mind what I'm thinking. So I'm going to read what card number 45 means. And I will say that when I do oracle readings for other people, and I know I've said it before, I can intuitively read the oracle cards for other people where I don't need to refer to the book. For myself, I sometimes find it hard. I can do it for myself, but not always. But I also do think that these oracle cards with this dream reading cards as well have a little bit different meaning than the typical oracle card, just because these cards are actually directly linked to dreams. Like the illustrator or author or creator, whatever you want to call it, has directly linked these oracle cards to the subconscious dreaming mind. So I feel like I'm going to continue when I pull oracle cards from here, from the dream reading cards by Rose and Sierra. I'm going to continue to read what the actual card means, just because it's a little bit different than a regular oracle reading. So the card itself, again, is card number 45, play. So respond to every call that excites your spirit. Look for ways to find simple childlike moments of pleasure in the busyness of life. Bring playfulness back into your life and enjoy those exquisite moments of sheer joy. Don't take life so seriously right now. Let go of your adult voice for a time and enjoy the childlike freedom that you had in your younger years. Let go of the expectations, the burdens, and the judgment of the adult in you. Take a break. Reconnect with your inner child. Take time out of yourself and look at the world through a child's wonder. Drop the cynicism. Expect surprises, and they will manifest in unexpected ways that will delight the child within. Remember the best times of your childhood and reconnect with the emotions experienced during those times of playfulness. Find ways to express your sense of fun with those around you. So I'm going to just stop there for a second, and I'm going to reread that. So remember the best times of your childhood and reconnect with the emotions experienced during those times of playfulness. Now, I do have good memories of my childhood. Even with the trauma, there was still good memories there. So I think the fact that it's saying, remember the best times of your childhood and reconnect with the emotions experienced during those times is such a big thing, because most of my life I've I've focused on my childhood trauma part and not the good times. And with this journey that I'm on, I'm learning and knowing that if you focus on the positive, the more positive things will come back to you. And that's just like, what you put out into the universe will come back to you. So if you're constantly, having negative thoughts, saying negative things, that same stuff's going to come back to you. So if I focus on positive things, the positive things will come back to me. And it's very interesting because not that I've lived a super terrible life. It hasn't been the easiest is what I'll say, or refer to it as. It's been, a struggle. It's been hard. It's been one roadblock or challenge after the next, and it hasn't been easy flowing. And I think that's a lot to do with focusing on the negative aspects of life as opposed to focusing on the positive, good things. Because, life isn't perfect. We will have hard times, and we do have to embrace both, but we shouldn't be focusing on the bad things. We should be focusing on the good things. So it's all about balance too. I'm not saying that if you focus on the positive things, you'll constantly have positive things come to you. That's not like the circle or our journey or our purpose. We are meant to embrace both bad things and good things, positive and negative, but we're not meant to focus on the bad or the negative. We're meant to focus on the good and the positive. And like I said, if you focus on the good and the good and the positive will outweigh the bad and the negative. Not get rid of it. It will outweigh it. So I'm going to continue reading the card here. So find ways to express your sense of fun with those around you. Be joyful so that you will be a pleasure to be around. Feeling joyful is a quality that opens up your heart and allows the spirit in. It is rejuvenating. It will heal your wounded heart and give you a zest for life. Don't feel you don't deserve happiness and time out to play. Be a fun person to be around and go out more. Make room in your life to include play. For most of you, play is not a priority because someone's got to take care of things. But in the meantime, stress takes a toll on your health and well-being. How much easier would it be if you allowed yourself to play more often and play fair and play just because it brings glee to your life? Be spontaneous. Dance like there's nobody watching. Take a holiday and play. Which is all so fitting with everything I just said. I work a lot and I don't take time I have been the last little bit, taking a little bit of time here and there and more time. I keep adding more time for myself and my children and my family as opposed to just work. So I think it is very important that we all take time, especially when our body is telling us we need it. And what I mean by that is if for some reason you have aches and pains and there's no medical explanation for it whatsoever, it's time for you to take time for yourself and focus on you. And if you're working too much or you're in school and you're studying too much, and it's just there's a time for work, there's a time for school, there's a time for breathing and relaxing and enjoying life. And we have to balance that all out together. I know that we can't just stop working and go on vacations or just sit in the sun and enjoy the fresh air. We obviously have to continue living our life and doing what we're here to do and go through life. And in human life, we need to be working and paying bills and groceries and stuff. But again, that's not the focus. That is a part of it, yes, but you also have to focus on time for yourself, whether that's reading a book, taking a bath, actually going on vacation, watching a movie, listening to music, meditating, sitting outside in the sun, like I just said, smelling the fresh air, feeling the breeze. We need to take time at some point for ourselves, and the universe will tell us that in many different ways, one being unexplained pain throughout our body if we're doing too much of one thing and need to kind of balance things out. So that is pretty much everything from the dream and the cards. That is all I have for that. I do have one more thing that I would like to talk about, and that is the rebranding or renaming of my podcast. I guess I should just say renaming because it's not like I am going to be rebranding. I guess rebranding is the right word too. I don't know what the proper terminology is for any of this stuff. But the reason why I want to change the name of my podcast is because I want the title to incorporate kind of everything that I'm doing or I do in this podcast, obviously summed up into one pretty cool name. And I do like Dear Dream Diary, but I feel like that title itself, if somebody were to hear it or see it, they might think that it is, a teen reading from their diary or their daily journals or something like that. And I want to draw the right audience. And I love sharing all this information with you guys because I love being open and letting you guys know all the different things that I'd like to do, or just basically being open and an open book. But the title that I've come up with, I think will incorporate everything together. So the title that incorporates both is The Dream Oracle Whispers from the Divine. I really like that. I think that it works for everything that I cover here. The first part, the Dream Oracle, I do dream interpretations, and then Whispers from the Divine, covers basically everything else spiritual, because that's where the messages come from, is the divine, the source. So I really like that name. That is what the podcast is going to be named. I will be creating a new logo and everything to go with it, and I love it. I'm excited about it. I did have a different name picked out, but I just sat here and this is what's come to me, and I really like it. But that is what I'm going with. It is the Dream Oracle Whispers from the Divine. That covers everything. I love it so much. It sounds so good too when I say it. The Dream Oracle Whispers from the Divine. Love it. I love it so much. I'm excited. Now I got to go create a logo and let everyone know what the new name's going to be so they don't think that they see this name and they're listening to some different new podcast. But thank you so much, guys, for listening to all my rambles and my silliness and my tongue twisters and everything that I just spew on here. I really appreciate all your support. If you guys aren't already following, or if you have friends and family, if you guys could just even get them to go, give me a like, listen to my episodes, please share, like, subscribe. I really enjoy everyone who interacts, who I talk to. I love talking and listening. And thank you so much for your support. And until next time, I hope you all have sweet dreams.